Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Going the Distance. This is episode 56. Can you believe we've done 56 episodes? I can't, but I want to welcome the new members who are just joining us for the first time, and I want to welcome back the members who have been joining me from the beginning. If you're a new watcher, I want you to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Hit that notification bell, hit the thumbs up, and comment on the video if you like what you hear and you have any thoughts on it. So we've got some football news to get into. We've got some football predictions and scores. And we got some music news. So before we get started, I hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas. And I know we had some football games on Christmas Day that we're going to talk about. So let's jump into it. So first off, let's talk about Deshaun Jackson. He's a former NFL wide receiver. He played for the Eagles, the Rams, the Raiders, and the Ravens. He just became the new head coach of Delaware State College. So it sounds to me like Michael Vick might have started a trend here, because Michael Vick became the new head coach of Norfolk State. Well, now Deshaun Jackson has become the new head coach of Delaware State. So I mean, we'll see how Michael does. We'll see how Deshaun does. I remember Deshaun being really good in the NFL. I remember he had one blunder, and that's the only – and, it was a big one. I know he had more than one, but the one that really sticks out was when he was running for a touchdown when he was with the Eagles, and he dropped the ball at the 1-yard line, and nobody was around. So he thought he had the touchdown, but after further review, it looked like he had dropped the ball at the 1, so they had to push 1 yard into the end zone for the touchdown. So we wish you all the best, Deshaun, in your future endeavor as this head coach, and we'll keep an eye on you, and we'll give your scores when next season. So now we need to talk about Brock Purdy. And yes, the 49ers had a game against the Lions last night, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But during that game, Brock got an elbow injury. It was late in the fourth quarter, and he got hit from the back. And from reports, he's got nerve damage in his elbow, his right elbow. Now, he had a elbow injury back in 2023 in the NFC Championship game against the Eagles, and it took him out for the remainder of that game and the remainder of the season. And that was when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl that year and played Kansas City. So now Brock has another elbow injury, and the 49ers aren't in the playoffs this year, so hopefully Brock can get that elbow worked out, fixed up for next season. But here's the thing. His contract, he's playing on his last year of his contract this year. So in the off season, not only does he have to worry about his elbow, but now he's got to worry about talking about contract extensions. Now, after last night's game, and yes, the Niners did lose, and we'll get into that score in a little bit. The owner of the 49ers has said that John Lynch, the general manager of the 49ers, and Kyle Shanahan, the head coach of the 49ers, both are going to return next season, which I think is a smart move. Go ahead, make sure you have the coach and the GM lined up, and then you got the quarterback. Well, now the coach and GM are saying they're good, so now let's work on Brock Purdy. And let's see if we can get an extension for him. Now, that will make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. And that right now, the highest paid quarterback is held by Dak Prescott of Dallas. But we all see how that ended up. Dak got that extension, and then he got hurt. Now he's out for the season. Now, granted, he had a lot of personal stuff go on, but I think it's very coincidental that he got hurt and his game changed after he got the money. But Brock, we wish you a speedy recovery. I know your status for the season finale in week 18 this Sunday is, uncertain, but we're praying for you that you don't have too much damage in that elbow. It can be recovered and you can be back good as new next season. So now let's get into some scores from Week 17. So we're going to start with Wednesday. And it was Christmas Day, and we had games on Christmas Day. We had the Ravens defeat the Texans 31-2. We had the cheating Chiefs defeat the Steelers 29-10. Really? Both of those games were on Christmas Day, and yes, as we talked about last week, Patrick Mahomes had to come out and say, well, why are we having games on Christmas Day? Well, since Mahomes said it, don't think there'll be any more games on Christmas Day, and I don't think there should be. I mean, we've never the only games we've had on Christmas Day have been if Christmas is on a Sunday and that's a regular football day. We've never had Christmas Day games. That's always been for the NBA. So, and it was on Netflix. So the only people that were able to see it were Netflix subscribers. But I mean, really, would you want to see the Chiefs and the Steelers play? Really? But, I mean, it would have been nice, with it being playoff time and everything having to, coming down to this, it would have been nice to see a little bit. But anyway, on Thursday night, sorry, y'all, we had the Seahawks defeat the Bears 6-3 in a very boring game. And it was really interesting to hear Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit talk in that game, because Al made the comment that back during the baseball season, the Seattle Mariners played the Chicago White Sox twice. Both of those games were a 6-3 Seattle win. So, I mean, it's something about Seattle and Chicago this season where it's just 6-3. So Seattle beat the Bears 6-3, and that helped. As of last Thursday, it helped their playoff. Now, that all changed on Sunday. Now, they were eliminated. The Seahawks were eliminated on Sunday. So, I mean, it was really all for nothing, but it was still a win for Seattle. So, at least they got bragging rights. On Saturday, we had the Chargers defeat the Patriots 40-7. And the Bengals defeated the Broncos 30-24 in overtime, and that was a great game. Joe Burrow played just fantastic. And let's talk about the Bengals for a minute, and let's talk about how, 8 weeks ago, even 6 weeks ago, they were talking about being out of the playoffs. Well, now they're sitting at 8-8, and they have a chance to make it in Week 18. Now, granted, they have to win next week, and a few other scenarios have to happen. They have to win Sunday, Miami has to lose, and Denver has to lose. But I think if Kansas City sits their starters, Denver might win that game. Although we're talking about the Chiefs here. So even with Mahomes and Kelsey and them sitting out that game, I think the Chiefs are still going to win, but we'll get into that later. Miami, I believe, is playing the Jets. And, I mean, really, Miami can beat the Jets. I can beat the Jets with one hand tied behind my back. So, and then the Bengals have to beat Pittsburgh on Saturday. So, we'll get into those games and the predictions. But I just want to say how proud of the Bengals I am. I'm a Joe Burrow fan. I like Zach Taylor. I like Jamar Chase. I like aspects of the Bengals altogether. And just the fact that they've come as far as they've come, I think right now the top three in the MVP race should be Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Joe Burrow. And honestly, it should just be a two-man race between Josh Allen and Joe Burrow, because what these two men have done this season is just remarkable. But we'll get into the MVP race in a little bit, probably in another show. And then to top out Saturday in the triple header, we had the Rams defeat the Cardinals 13-9, which now the Rams are in the playoffs. So could they do some damage in the playoffs, and could they make it? Honestly, I don't think so. I've already made my Super Bowl predictions. So now let's move into Sunday. So to start out with, we had the Bills defeating the Jets 40-14. We had the Giants defeat the Colts 45-33. And who really figured the Giants could score 45 points? I mean, I didn't know the Giants even knew they could do that, but they did. And the Colts had to have that game to stay in playoff contention. Well, they lost to the Giants, so that eliminated the Colts. Oh, and on another note, with this Giants win, that put the New England Patriots as the number 1 pick in this year's draft. So now New England holds that number 1 overall pick. And we don't need a quarterback because we've got a quarterback in Drake May. So who do we pick now? We'll see. Moving on, we had the Eagles defeat the Cowboys 41-7. No big surprise. I mean, Jalen Hurts wasn't playing for the Eagles. You had Cooper Rush for the Cowboys, another backup. So it was backup versus backup. And in that game, Kenny Pickett for the Eagles got hurt with a rib injury. Now, he sustained a rib injury last week. He got painkillers and he came back in, to start this week. Well, he went out in the second quarter because of his ribs. So, we're hoping for you to have a speedy recovery, Kenny. And Jalen, you were out with a concussion this week. Let's hope you can bounce back and be back in the lineup, for the playoffs. Moving on, we had the Buccaneers defeat the Panthers 48-14 in a must-win for the Bucs. Now, the Bucs needed to win, and they needed Atlanta to lose one of their next 2 games. And we'll get into that score here in a little bit. But to start out with, the Bucs defeated the Panthers 48-14 to keep a stride in the NFC South. The Dolphins defeated the Browns 20-3. The Vikings defeated the Packers 27-25. And as we talked about before, the Falcons needed to win to keep pace in the NFC South. Well, the Redskins foiled that. So the Redskins, or the Commanders, defeated the Falcons 30-24 in overtime. Y'all, that was a great game. Michael Penix Jr., it was the first time I had seen him play in an NFL game. This was his second start, and what a way to start your second game of your rookie year in prime time. Your second start as a rookie is in prime time, and you put up 24 points and actually send the Redskins to overtime. It was great, y'all. I mean, Jalen Daniels looked good. Michael Penix Jr. looked good. Drake London for the Falcons looked good. McLean for the Redskins is just a beast. Even Zach Ertz did great. And Zach's been in the league for a little while. So congratulations to the Redskins. This win put the Redskins in the playoffs this year. Now, they haven't been to the playoffs since 2020. And I believe in this game, Jalen Daniels broke RG3's rookie rushing record, which I didn't know. And it's just for the Redskins. It's not for the whole league. It's just Redskins that he broke that rushing record for. I was going to say, I don't remember him being, having that record before, because Cam Newton came in and he was, quarterback wide receiver. So, I never, I knew he had a lot of rushing yards, but now Jalen Daniels has beaten RG3's rushing record for the Skins. So we really, we're happy for you, Jalen. And I feel like you've got a tremendous career ahead of you. I see Super Bowls. I think if Dan Quinn stays as coach, and with these new owners of the Redskins, that's all they needed was a new coach and new ownership and a quarterback who's worth his salt, and they've got all that now. So I feel like for years to come, the Redskins are going to be a force to be reckoned with. And then in the Monday night game, we had the Lions defeat the 49ers 40-34. Now, the Lions needed this win to keep pace with the Vikings because now they both have the same record at 14-2. But right now, Minnesota holds that number one spot, and the Lions are in the fifth seed in the Super Bowl. So this Sunday night, and we'll get into that in my predictions, but this Sunday night we have the Vikings at the Lions to determine that number one seed and the NFC North. Whoever wins clinches the number one seed, the first round bye, and like I said, the top seed. And the loser drops to the fifth seed and has a home playoff game. Honestly, with the way that the Lions have been playing, we'll get into that. I'm just going to tell you, and I'll say it later on too, I think the Lions are going to win that game because I think they're more hungry for it, and they're more, they want it more. And with Minnesota, you've got Sam Darnold, and he has really surprised me. In fact, I've made a comment watching these Viking games. I've been like, who is that at quarterback? That can't be the same Sam Darnold that we know. And, grew up watching with the Jets and the Panthers. And now then he went and backed up Purdy in San Francisco. And now he's starting for the Vikings. And the only reason he's starting for the Vikings, in my opinion, is because rookie J.J. McCarthy got hurt. That's the only reason why. Had J.J. not gotten hurt, J.J. would be starting, Sam would be the backup. But if Sam goes anywhere else, and he is playing for a job next season because he signed with Minnesota on a one-year contract, Sam did. So he's working out that contract, and he's going to see who else can pick him up. Who do y'all think would pick up Sam Darnold? In fact, who do you think, what team do you think needs a quarterback like Sam Darnold? And does he continue the same success in Minnesota that and go somewhere else and continue that success? Or is this all we're going to see of him? It's like Aaron Rodgers. The Jets have decided weeks ago to move on from Aaron Rodgers. So now Aaron's just playing his contract out. Does he go somewhere else? I feel like Aaron needs to retire. And speaking of Aaron, he gets fined and flagged last week. He got fined this week, but got flagged during the game last week for an unnecessary roughness penalty, late hit out of bounds on a player that was justified. Yes, Aaron Rodgers should have gotten flagged and should have gotten fined for that. In fact, I say fine him, suspend him, whatever. You've only got one more game. Fine him, and then let the Jets do what they need to with him. Because he's been nothing but a thorn in the Jets' side since he got there. He played one full season, signed a 2-year deal, and played 1 year of the 2-year deal because he got an Achilles injury and then tried to make it back before the playoffs, before the end of last season. No. So, in my opinion, Aaron play this week and then move on. Anyway, rant over. We're going to move into the last week, week 18 predictions. Can you believe this is the last week of the regular season, y'all? This is going to be week 18, and we've got 2 Sunday games. The first game on Sunday is at 4:30 on ESPN. It's the Browns at the Ravens. I feel like the Ravens are going to win that one. And then on Saturday at 8 on ESPN, we have the Bengals at the Steelers. Now, the Steelers have lost 4 in a row, or 3 in a row. It's either 3 or 4 in a row. and they're going up against a Bengals team in a must-win game for the Bengals. So I feel like first hit, the Bengals are going to win this game. Now, that being said, all season, Joe Burrow has had 4,641 yards, 42 touchdowns, and 8 interceptions. Y'all, he's putting up numbers like this, and the Bengals are 8-8. The Bengals have been first and second all season in offense, defense, passing yards, quarterback ratings, all that, and they're sitting at 8-8 with the chance to go to the playoffs. So I've got the Bengals, and I'll pick Joe Burrow in this game because I think they know the extent of the game. Moving on into Sunday, we've got the Panthers at the Falcons. I've actually got the Falcons winning that game. The Redskins or the Commanders at the Cowboys. I have the Redskins because Dallas just isn't getting it done this season. And the Redskins are in the playoffs, and they're hungry for it. Dallas is just playing for bragging rights now, like they have any, right? The Texans travel. Oh, and that Commanders Cowboys game is a division game. That Falcons Panthers game is a division game, and both games on Saturday are division games. Moving on to another division game, we have the Texans at the Titans. I have the Texans winning that game. We have the Jaguars at the Colts. I actually have the Colts winning that game, and that's another division game. In fact, a lot of these are going to be division games this week. Next, we have the Bills at the Patriots. I have the Bills winning that game. And I've read where Josh Allen is going to start that game, and then he's going to sit and rest for the playoffs. Now, the only reason he's starting in this game is because he's got a streak going where he started every game, and he doesn't want to break that. So he's going to start. He'll probably play the first series or two, and then he'll sit. But I've got the Bills defeating the Patriots. The Giants travel to the Eagles. I have the Eagles winning that game. The Saints at the Bucks. The Bucks winning that game, and those two games are division games. Chargers at the Raiders. I have the Chargers. Seahawks at Rams. I have the Rams. Dolphins at Jets. I have the Dolphins. Unfortunately, because if the Dolphins win, the Bengals are out of the playoffs. The 49ers at the Cardinals. I'm actually picking the Cardinals in this game. And the only reason I'm picking the Cardinals is because of Brock Purdy's status. We don't know if he's going to play or not, but, we'll see. But I have the Cardinals in that game. The Bears at the Packers. I have the Packers. The Chiefs at the Broncos. I have the cheating Chiefs. And then on Sunday night, we have the Vikings at the Lions to determine the number 1 seed in the NFC and the winner of the NFC North. Both teams are 14-2. No big surprise, I have the Lions winning this game. Now, every single game, I should mention this, every single game this season, or this week, is a division game. Every single one of them. I can't believe that. Every single game is a division game. Wow. Some of them have have high stakes to them, and the others are just to play for bragging rights. So now we're going to move on to our What We're Listening To segment. And who we're listening to. And who are we listening to this week? And I know it's kind of a bit of a shock that I haven't done this band first, but we're listening to Matchbox 20 this week. They're my all-time favorite band, y'all. I've followed them since the 90s, since 1996. I've seen them live in concert twice. Rob Thomas is actually a musical idol of mine. They're an alternative rock band out of Orlando, Florida. They formed in 95, and I found out about them in 96. Their debut album, Yourself or Someone Like You, is, in my opinion, one of the best albums of my generation. I put that one in the top five. They've actually had 5 studio albums, 25 singles, 19 music videos, 1 compilation album, and no live albums. Their most recent album is Where the Light Goes, and that came out back in 2023. My favorite album from them is Yourself or Someone Like You. They've gotten me through a lot of times. They've been through every stage of my life, and in fact, Where the Light Goes, their most recent album was their first album in 12 years, and they had already talked about they weren't going to do another album. They were just going to tour and do the nostalgia tours. And I've heard a band, hard rock band, Godsmack, is going to start doing that. They're not going to make any more new music. They're going to just do nostalgia tours, and I think that's fine. But anyway, back to Matchbox 20. The song I want you guys to listen to is the song How Far We've Come. And I picked that song because, first and foremost, it's the last day of 2024. And I feel like How Far We've Come is the perfect song to start the new year and kind of see how far we've come from the beginning of 2024 to the beginning of 2025. So, how far have we come? I mean, we've done 56 episodes of Going the Distance. And, we're starting a year on Going the Distance. We're coming up on a year, actually. So, how far have we come in this year? I want to know. And, let's have a good year in 2025, y'all. So, go out, listen to Matchbox 20. My favorite album, like I said, is Yourself or Someone Like You, but they've got a slew of good songs. And I just hope everybody had a wonderful Christmas, has a happy new year. I want to thank you guys for going the distance with me this week. And I will be back next week and next year for an all-new episode. Thank you guys. God bless.